Our presentation is very much about our own experience, our own projects on the ground. We would be delighted to hear all of your wonderful projects as well, but we'll share a few ideas and a few thoughts with you. Our schools are a network of schools, and I'm delighted to see Maeve here and Anne-Marie here from Pres in Carlow, and I'm wondering, is there anybody here from St. Leo's in Carlow? I don't see Sheila Cody, and I don't see Anya. So we're a partnership project with 3 schools in Carlow and 1 school, Carnew in County Wicklow. So what does DevEd look like in our school? Sometimes it looks like students and teachers enjoying an immersion opportunity with Self-Help Africa, and I'm delighted to see Dorothy here today, and thanks very much for all your support, and from Patsy Toland over the years. Sometimes it's about science for development projects. This is a Young Social Innovators project. I teach Young Social Innovators, and I like the structure, and I use it to engage in development issues, and this one was on gender equality. Some of my colleagues examined fair trade, and sometimes you find DevEd in unexpected places. For example, in LinguaSwap, it's a language platform, so the language department are playing their part there. Sometimes it's about a courtyard, allotment garden, and food security and sustainability. This was a junior cert art project, and her focus was DevEd. So you find DevEd in a myriad of different subjects. I suppose it has a natural home in geography and economics and religion and CSP and all of that. But when you actually think about it, DevEd is everywhere. Like, it's even in our maths classes. We can use data for statistics, or data for our Green Schools program. And this was a butterfly effect project. We produced a booklet 2015, and we got lucky one July. Students dressed in their uniforms, and we got the privilege of meeting Ban Ki-moon. And then Dr. Jerry Jeffers from NUI Maynooth, he commissioned a film crew to come down to our school and to make a DVD, A Chance for Change, and some of you might have seen it. It's definitely on the Development Education website. So this was a kind of an expression of all the engagements that we have with development education in our school. Speaking of being a partnership, sometimes second-level schools only compete against each other, maybe on the sports field or maybe in debating, public speaking. But with our partnership with Leo's in Carlow and with Pres in Carlow and with CBS in Carlow, our students can come together to enjoy workshops with facilitators from all of the NGOs. So it's wonderful to have the meeting of minds and to work together instead of competing. I'll just hand you over to Aileen.
Hello everybody, so I'm Aileen Tennant from St. Mary's Academy in Carlow, and I suppose Annette stole something there I was thinking of using in my presentation, but I'm going to use it anyway. Dorothy Jacob sent me this out during the week, which is Thursday's World Food Day, and for anyone that's also maybe a maths and physics teacher, they'll know that this week is Maths Week. So here's just another way that you can incorporate or do a cross-curricular link with DevEd or embed DevEd in your maths class this week or during Maths Week. There's lots of statistics and lots of information there available that you could use and embed some DevEd concepts into your maths class, okay? Another thing, this year was the first female Nobel Prize for Mathematics was a female Iranian mathematician, and it's just another way again to talk about gender issues and so on, maybe in your maths classes. The history of DevEd in our school is a lengthy enough one. My principal, Leo Hogan, a couple of years back, around 2006, went to a presentation in Irish Aid about development education. And there was lots of things happening in school, including the immersion project, which is run to India every 2 years. There's also a Peace and Justice club in our school. So these are 2 things that were happening, but I suppose Leo came along and realised that we need to embed it more in the school curriculum, and he felt that these projects needed some support, and also that it would feature in other subject areas. So he came along with the idea to develop a transition year model. So it's development issues, a course for transition year, and he approached a colleague of mine, Joseph Clary, and he kind of jumped on it and said yes, he really believed in it. He linked up with Katrina Foley from Portage CBS, and also approached Patsy Toland of South Africa at the time, who was the Development Education Officer. And together they started developing a syllabus. There was no syllabus present at the time. They started developing a syllabus and tried and tested it in schools, and then branched out to other schools. So St. Leo's would have been involved, the Press would have been involved in Carlow to test out some of the methodologies that they had developed. Eventually, with funding from Irish Aid, with support from South Africa, they I suppose expanded that project to 32 schools, and that's now, with thanks to the NCCA and the support of the NCCA, it's a validated transition module. You can see it's on developmenteducation.ie website here. So there's a whole range of modules that you can teach with transitionary students, or maybe with project work. Forgetting my clicker, excuse me. As I say, we have a range of things happening. We have a very active peace and justice group in our school. We have the immersion trip that takes place that goes to India, and also we have an immersion trip, our field research trip, that we take part in with Gersa South Africa. So these are just some of the activities. We've had projects that we've entered into the Young Environmentalist competition. So we had a really active bunch of students that were really passionate about making TY paperless, because transition year was becoming a bit outrageous with all the photocopies because there's no books and so on available. So these guys worked at developing a wormery to try and recycle paper and to get the nutrients back into the soil and so on. And also to, they use Moodle as a method of basically getting materials to teachers and teachers to disseminate materials to students and so on. Those guys went on, they're an incredibly passionate bunch of students. They went on to win their category, and I think on the day, the reason I'm putting this slide up is Mary Robinson at the time was announcing winners and gave a speech. And it really empowered the students to believe that they can make change. And those guys, it wasn't winning the award, it was actually listening to her instill a belief in the students. So there's plenty of opportunities, not just in the classroom, but other activities that will really bring a difference and make change. We also have been involved over the years with the Young Scientist competition, and DJ Keane came up with a method to preserve the milk, basically extend the shelf life of milk in rural parts of Africa. So these guys ended up winning the Science for Development Award. And on top of that, they were able to implement their findings in Africa. The prize was sponsored by Irish Aid and South Africa. So they travelled out to Ethiopia to share with dairy farmers their ideas of preserving milk. They also were in the SciFest competition, and they won the Global Citizenship Award. But what was absolutely magical about that was the guys got to meet the winners of the Young Scientist Tanzania, and in NUI in a reception. And I think just to see, Eleanor had students there that day as well, to see the students conversing on real life issues was absolutely incredible. We also are very fortunate to link up with NUI Maynooth during DevEd Week, and we've had students here last year. Again, Eleanor would have had students doing workshops this time it was on conflict, and they were turning the tables, I suppose, on teachers, and they were teaching the student teachers, and it was a very, again, engaging experience for the students. We've also, we're both working towards the 6th Green Flag. So last year the theme was on biodiversity. So as part of the development of working towards that Green Flag, we developed a garden in our school, so we have a polytunnel in the garden. So it's just another, again, area for students to look at sustainable development and so on. So the last flag, the 5th flag, was the Green Schools biodiversity flag. So both of our schools are at that stage, and we're now currently working on the 6th Green Flag. And I suppose we'll hand you over to Eleanor to tell you a little bit more about that and where we're going with the 6th Green Flag.
The second question that I'd like to address here today is how do we as teachers lead a whole school approach to DevEd? It's a big ask, really. But I keep it incredibly simple. Many years ago I used to coordinate green schools, as did Aileen. And I know I sat beside some of the girls at our table that are coordinators of green schools also. So perhaps some of you would be familiar with the 7 steps. So I used the 7 steps of the Green Schools programme to implement a whole school approach to DevEd. It's as simple as that. So step 1, a committee. So last month, when we came back in September, I put together a brand new Dev Ed committee made up of students and teachers and a parent, and I actually handpicked the students this time around, but I'm thinking into the future next year maybe I'll ask them to apply for a place on the Dev Ed committee depending on what way the thing goes. So number 2, our environmental review. Thanks to Lizzie and her staff, they have this done in a beautiful rubrics on that magical big poster that you have in your information pack. So the principal of my school, Linda Don, and myself sat down for 2.5 hours on a Wednesday lately, and we went through the Worldwide Global Schools rubrics, and we started ticking the boxes. Where are we now? What are we doing? What work have we further to do, or whatever? It was an incredible, it was a really positive kind of an exercise, because it was kind of an opportunity to see exactly what we've done and what more we could do. So that was our review stage of our school community and its engagement. Number 3 then, an action plan. So from the findings of our review, we can put together an action plan, and I'll talk to you about that in a moment. And then down to perhaps number 5 there, curriculum work. We have a CPD day coming up in November, and I'm going to keep it really simple. I'm going to prepare a template, and I'm going to hand out a template to subject departments, teachers in their subject departments, and for like 5 minutes I'm going to ask them to brainstorm what themes they teach in junior cycle, what themes they might address in senior cycle in their subject area. And I think I'll use the flashcards that Worldwide Global Schools have down there at the back to kind of use as a stimulus for the teachers. Like, they mightn't be able to think in 5 minutes of all the different engagements they have in their own subject area. Like, for example, last Friday, one of my colleagues sitting around the coffee table showed me the design brief for the higher level technology Leaving Cert this year, and guess what? It has a Dev Ed theme, and I said, happy days, we've arrived. It's wonderful. So sometimes you might make the link between technology and Dev Ed, or maybe you would, like sustainable energy and all of that kind of thing. So jumping down then to number 6, informing and involving. This is really simple in my mind. Like, I think of all the ways in my school that we inform ourselves about different things. You know, we have intercoms, we have newsletters, we have websites. What else have we, Aileen? We have, I can't even think of the top, we have notice boards. So if you just use the systems that are there, staff meetings. It was a great idea this morning when someone suggested having a 5-minute slot, a Dev Ed slot at a staff meeting. I hadn't really thought about it. So to inform and to involve is just use the structures that are already in your school. And then the green code number 7, so a Dev Ed code, came by complete accident in an email from a colleague. And our Dev Ed code is grow with dignity. I suppose it would be lovely to have, you know, maybe the committee, you know, thinking up of their own code, but it just came in an email, it hopped off the page, I liked it, and then one of the 5th-year students designed a lovely logo for our Dev Ed committee using that grow with dignity code. So the next slide is just, I know you can't see the writing, it's just too small, but just to give you an example of the way my mind works when I go about thinking of a whole school approach. So I make a chart of an action plan, and I literally write out the goals that we want to achieve, what needs to be done, who's going to do it, what challenges might I face, what opportunities might we face, and the time frame. So at a glance, number 1 is to establish a Dev Ed committee. So on the far side near Aileen there, I have done, because that's done. I like taking off things when they're done. So like, that's just really a kind of a draft action plan. So my intention is to sit down now with my committee and my students and to just kind of tidy that up and we might even use like Google Docs to collaborate when we're not in school and stuff, because we're busy people, aren't we? And it's very hard to get time to sit down with students and do all of this. So if we can share a document in Google Drive, it would be helpful, I think. So that's as simple as it is. That's how I'm going to lead a whole school approach to Dev Ed, and I'm literally basing it on my experience of how a green school should be led and coordinated. So maybe that's oversimplification, but I hope it's maybe a useful idea for some of you here if you're familiar with the 7 steps.
I suppose there's, as you can see, a lot of activities going on in our schools in relation to development education. Our next step was, why did we go into a global partnership? And I suppose I mentioned earlier that we were on the 6th Green Flag, which is about global citizenship, focusing on litter and waste. And we were both at that point in our schools that, well, okay, let's actually make real links here. At the same time, when we were at this stage, the key skills had come out for the new junior cert course, and the English departments, obviously I'm familiar with those, and we're all familiar with them, but we were thinking ahead, and I suppose our vision was, well, why is it just occurring maybe in transition year, maybe we need to bring this in sooner? And certainly that comes from requests from our students. They say, why is it only maybe in transition year? Can we have had students in the past ask, can we do this for Leaving Cert and so on? So we were at that point. We're at the point in the road where, okay, we need to make real links. It's not just about having a 2-week immersion. It's not just about having a research field trip. It's not just about talking about it. It's actually about doing it. So we had researchers coming into our schools. So the Combat Diseases of Poverty Consortium had researchers, African researchers coming over, and they were doing some workshops in our schools and discussing issues and coming up maybe with solutions or analysing what the problems were and so on. And there was active engagement. And at the point we had an African researcher over, and she had always commented to us about, you come to Ireland and you don't see litter thrown around the streets, as she did in our own country. And she said, we need to do something about this. So all of the pieces were fitting together. We're on our 6th Green Flag. The new key skills from the junior cert were presented to us, and so on. And so the next natural stage was to go and actually make a partnership. So we had a partnership between ourselves and Carnew, and then to develop that partnership with schools in Africa. Some of the reasons that I outlined already, some of the things I spoke about in earlier slides are there on the sheet. So I'll give you a minute just to look at those. Hopefully the text is not too small. And I'm just going to pick out a few of the really driving forces behind it. It's very important in our schools that it's not just standalone projects that are happening. So we need to build capacity amongst our students and our staff and get everybody on board and taking part and taking action and embedding Dev Ed into the classroom. So this is another reason why we were developing these global partnerships. We want to expand our Irish network as well. So we're working with, obviously, we hold workshops with Carnew and St. Leo's and Presentation College in Carlow. And I must say, as a teacher in an all-boys school, it's an excellent forum for our students to have a bit more gender balance when we're discussing global development issues. And we wanted to take these issues on a bit further and extend our Irish network, and to then make links with that Irish network with schools in Africa. And another thing is, we know the phrase to act local, and think global, but we wanted to do something about acting local and globally to make a difference on some of these issues. And again, our issue is focusing on litter and waste practices. I'm going to hand you now over to Eleanor, and she'll tell you how we actually established these things.
Okay, so how did we actually establish global partnership? So I'm not sure if you're familiar with YST. It's Young Scientists Tanzania. Our colleague Joe Clary, who teaches in Aileen School, he was the founder with Dr. Kamagichi of the Tanzanian Young Scientist concept. He brought the Irish version of Young Scientist to Tanzania 3 years ago. So that was a model of excellence that was there for us to try and emulate. And Joe, as I say, is our colleague. He is our mentor as well, and he guides us each step of the way. So we're working very hard on trying to copy his model, really. So we sat down with our principals. You see Leo Hogan here and Linda Dawn and Aileen and myself, and we had soul-searching discussions and how would we do it and what would we do and when would we do it. And it was a wonderful feeling to have senior management on board, because it makes it easier when you have that level of support for all the projects and the ideas that you have in your mind. So we sat down and we applied for funding from Worldwide Global Schools. And thanks again to Worldwide staff for being so helpful in making that process a little bit easier for us. So we've been working in partnership with Worldwide Global Schools for 2 years now, and thankfully we have extended our Irish network. So we started out with just Aileen's school and my school, and now we have Leo's and Fred's. So we're geographically sort of a nice, it's handy really. 3 schools are in Carlow, I'm in Carnew, so I'm the only one that has to rent the buses to go up to Carlow, so it works.
It's the hard work.
Again, thanks to Worldwide, we got to extend our network in Tanzania as well. So last June, Aileen and I travelled to Dar es Salaam in the summer, and we forged partnerships with Jamhuri Secondary School in Dar es Salaam and Betsaida, an orphanage school, and we worked with them for, was it 8 days, 10 days, and just recently, in the last month, we have extended that network to CUE Secondary School in Arusha and Tanga Technical School in Tanga, and 2 of our colleagues from Africa are going to come to Ireland to spend some time with us in our schools next January. So what were we doing in Dar es Salaam? We sat down with Antashka, when was it, last year sometime, the year before last maybe, and Dr. Michael John, and we had discussions on how we would bring kind of the Green Schools idea to Tanzania. So thankfully they gave us their intellectual property. So Aileen and myself sat down and we redesigned the Green Schools program to suit an African context and an African school. And we're very thankful to Antashka for giving us their intellectual property. So we have a handbook for teachers in our schools in Africa, and on your right hand side we put together a little handbook, and it's one of the Irish teachers, in actual fact, in my school did a tutorial one day on the Book Creator app, and after trial and error I used that Book Creator app to put together that student handbook, if anybody wants to have a look at it. It's really templates from our Green Schools program, and it's a workbook type idea, and it's for students to write in the minutes of their meeting and their action plan and all of that. So that's a nice little message there for our school to Colossus from our girls in Betsaida. We had to prepare for every eventuality. Like here in Ireland, we have the zappers and the laptops and the whatevers, but we had to make a 3-hour presentation in Jamhuri Secondary School and in Betsaida, and we didn't have electricity. We didn't have a blackboard. We had the chalk, but we didn't have the board. We didn't have all of the props that we're used to. So we kind of improvised. We bought a roll from Viking Direct. We bought a roll of that magic white paper that you tear off like a flip chart, and some law of physics that Aileen would understand better than me. You can stick it to the wall and it stays there, and then you can use your marker to write on it. And in the picture there you see show me boards, so it was like an A4 sheet of paper, laminated, wipeable markers, happy days. So, and we had some posters and we had our own resources there as well. So we did kind of active kind of teaching methodologies. Students really engaged with us. That would be fair to say, Aileen, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So we spent 2 days in each of the schools, and since we've come back from Dar es Salaam, we're in email contact with our schools, and now that we have 2 new schools, our workload has kind of doubled. So like last Saturday morning, wasn't it, Aileen, we had 2-hour Skype conversation with our teachers, and next Sunday morning we'll continue having more Skype conversations. So technology is wonderful, you know, to have a project millions of thousands of miles apart and still it works. So our last question that we wanted to address here today is just opportunities and challenges around our partnership, our global partnership project.
It was an incredible opportunity for the teachers that we were working with as well. It was not an opportunity, but it was a wonderful partnership for us and the teachers in our school in Tanzania, in Dar es Salaam, to do those active learning methodologies. So we were kind of doing educational links as well, because it's not something that they would use in their classrooms. So it's just another element of the value, I suppose, of working together in partnership with teachers, you know, halfway across the world, and looking at other approaches to education. Back to opportunities. Okay, expanding our Irish Schools network, I mentioned earlier, it's so important for our students to come together and discuss the issues. Okay, instead of just in a classroom and the same guys talking about the same things or addressing the same issue in the same way, it's a powerful opportunity to get students together to discuss different issues. It's also about, obviously, it's an amazing opportunity to really make these real connections, embed it into our school culture, and make it a reality for our students. Again, not just talking about it, doing it. We must also remember these are the future leaders of our world, and we've made a bit of a mess with, I suppose, our focus is on climate justice, and ourselves and before us, we've made some mess with our climate and so on, but we need to equip these students with the tools and the skills to come along and actually make decisions for the future and make change. Again, just empowering teachers to facilitate the change, okay? So to come along and to build capacity in our own schools, in our network schools, to facilitate our students to make these changes. There's a quote here which I'm sure somebody in the room recognises, maybe 2 people: solidarity, not charity. The presentation, I know, had a YSI program or project, which they won, I believe, with this. This is the theme of their project. And again, it's not about this whole concept that Annette was saying in the SUS report from 3rd level, that, you know, there's this notion of charity all the time, and we're great givers, but the whole notion of solidarity needs to be built a bit more amongst our young people. The Climate Justice Schools program, as we spoke about, is an amazing opportunity for some project to work together in partnership on to tackle a real global issue, okay? And then the last one, reciprocal visits. So again, in our school we have immersion programs, we have the research trips to Africa and so on, but it's rare that we get an opportunity to bring other teachers over and to see what we're doing in our schools, and to learn from them, and to have them to impart their knowledge on our colleagues and so on. Naturally, you can see here, these are all kind of golden opportunities with it, and these certainly outweigh any of the challenges. There are obviously the challenges such as follow-up. Eleanor mentioned, yeah, we did have a 2-hour Skype conversation, we had a 3-way conversation with Sarah and Sia on Saturday morning, and we would talk to Nelson. Unfortunately, he was taking a field trip away, so he couldn't be there, so next week would be a 4-way Skype conversation. But it takes a bit of organisation, but it's entirely possible. Communication, Skype is getting better and better, so I can't really report any major problem with communication. Sometimes a few email bounces and things like that, but these are just the practical side of things. It does certainly require time and timing, because there is obviously a 2-hour difference between ourselves in Ireland and our schools in Tanzania, and it'll be now 3 hours in a couple of weeks. So you just need to get your timing right, make sure that you put aside the time and a fixed time to liaise with your partners. And then obviously, we're 2 years into this. We've been fortunate to have secured funding from Worldwide Global Schools for 2 years now. And into the future, this is a big partnership project, we're expanding all the time. We're not sure where we're going. We started the road, we don't know what's going to come up next. But I suppose we're open to any suggestions to keep this amazing partnership going. And I suppose without the funding for Worldwide Global Schools, we wouldn't have been able to do any of this. And it's having a very big impact to our schools and our students, which is the most important thing. I'm going to leave you with our mission, which you can read yourselves. And finally, just again to thank Lizzie and Ashling for inviting us along to make the presentation. You can find out a little bit more. We have a Twitter account, CJSP Tanzania, and I'll hand you over to Eleanor just to finish up.
So just to say thank you so much to WorldWise for this invitation here today. We hope you got some little nugget, hopefully one idea from our presentation. I'd like to congratulate each and every one of you guys. You guys are introducing DevEd to your students, and to me that's such a privilege. Like, I feel totally privileged to be able to engage young minds. The wonderful thing about a DevEd class is you don't have to have all the answers. Like in our regular subject, you in the door and you're supposed to be the expert and you're supposed to have the answers. But in a DevEd classroom, you don't have to have any answers, but you can ask critical questions. And the second thing that I absolutely adore about my engagement with DevEd is that every single student fits in a DevEd classroom. You can go into another classroom and you have, the real academic and whatever, and they're happy campers, and then you have the poor little one that's struggling. So in a DevEd class, everybody fits and everybody finds a comfortable space, because they tell me there's 9 different types of intelligences, and DevEd is a fantastic way of exploring all those different levels of intelligence and just drawing out the skills and the talents of the group that you're working with, and to me that's a privilege. So thank you for listening, and again thank you to Lizzie and her staff, and Mary and Ashling. We will see you Monday at our workshop in Carlow. And Rita, nice to meet you, and Mary is there somewhere. And I see Dorothy came back into the room for a while, I'm not sure, but thank you, Dorothy. So, thanks.